What if Anakin killed Obi-Wan on Mustafar? In Revenge of the Sith, we witnessed Anakin and Obi-Wan's nail-biting duel on Mustafar and how Anakin was eventually defeated by his old master. As a result, he was burnt so badly, he was then forced to live the rest of his life in pain and suffering as he spent the next 20 years trapped in a dark prison of a suit. But what if things were different? What if Anakin was the one to defeat Obi-Wan instead of losing to him? Well, in this alternate timeline, that's exactly what we'll be diving into, so let's get right into it. Our story begins towards the end of the epic showdown between the master and apprentice duo of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. As the two fought along the lava river, the fight was finally coming to a close as Obi-Wan then did a backflip to land on top of a nearby hill. However, this is where our story is different from the original. As Obi-Wan stood there on the high ground, he knew Anakin would try to jump, so he warned him not to try it, but Anakin had other plans. He was tired of his master underestimating his abilities, just as he'd done for the past decade. He was tired of the Jedi Order always holding him back and never understanding his true power. Anakin had enough. He wanted to end this fight right here and now. So in that very moment, he made a risky decision that would change the entire fate of the galaxy. Out of nowhere, he then leaped in the air, and as he did, Obi-Wan went to swing at him, but he missed. Using that to his advantage, Anakin then leaped behind him and stabbed his saber right through Obi-Wan's chest. It was over. Obi-Wan Kenobi was defeated. As Anakin watched Obi-Wan's body collapse to the ground, he couldn't help but laugh inside. For so long, Obi-Wan always held him back from his full potential, and just like the rest of the Jedi, he never understood what true power was. However, now he was no more. The Jedi were defeated, the Republic has fallen, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was now dead. Everything had gone according to Sidious and Anakin's plans, just as they hoped. As Obi-Wan's body then rolled down the lava bank, Anakin approached his corpse and then kneeled. Taking one last look at the Jedi, he said,
"Die well, my old master."
Anakin kicked his body into the lava. However, as he stood there, his thoughts quickly shifted. As he was deep in thought, he now had one thing and one thing on his mind only: Padme. If she was still alive, he had to bring her to safety right away. Although he wanted to savor the moment of killing his old master, he couldn't waste any more time. He needed to get to his wife. So he quickly rushed back to the landing platform where he saw C-3PO walk onto Padme's ship. Unfortunately, Padme herself was nowhere to be found, so that meant she must be on the ship with them. However, as 3PO boarded the ship, R2 told him to take off immediately, but this confused 3PO.
Take off? R2, have you lost your circuits? That is Master Anakin coming!
R2 quickly tried explaining to him that something's changed about Anakin, and it was his fault Padme was barely breathing right now. Although Anakin used to be his best friend, R2 knew that he wasn't the same, and he was terrified of what else he'd do to Padme if he got the chance. Eventually, 3PO understood, and so he started to take off. As he did this, Anakin approached the ship. Why were they trying to take off, he thought to himself. No, he couldn't allow this. He needed his wife. So, channeling all his power in the dark side, he used his strength to pull the ship back. Anakin kept pulling and pulling, but because this was a Naboo starship, it wasn't as easy to pull as something as small as a shuttle. As the ship was shaking, the two droids were panicking inside, so R2 told 3PO to punch it. 3PO then tried to move the ship faster, but Anakin was just too powerful. The ship was getting closer and closer to him. However, then the unexpected happened. As Anakin kept pulling, he saw a silver flash of metal in the sky. It was Palpatine's shuttle. Unfortunately for Anakin, this completely distracted him, so in that brief second that he looked away, he lost all concentration and 3PO and R2 were able to escape. They were now safe with Padme on board. As the two droids took off, R2 told 3PO to contact Master Yoda immediately, and so he did just that.
Master Yoda, oh thank goodness, we have Miss Padme on board, but she's in critical condition.
3PO, bring her to Palace Massa. You and General Kenobi must. Meet you there, I will.
3PO took a pause.
Master Yoda, I am afraid that Master Kenobi did not return to the ship. I have not seen him come back.
Yoda closed his eyes and sighed. He looked defeated.
See you soon. I will.
Yoda hung up. From there, the two droids then set off for the medical facility on Polis Massa, the same one we saw in the film. Meanwhile, back on Mustafar, Anakin was filled with rage. However, he wasn't going to stop there. He needed to go after that ship. So, as he turned around, he then stormed towards Palpatine's ship to go after the droids. But then, he was stopped. As he was leaving the landing platform, two of Palpatine's clone troopers approached him.
Lord Vader, Lord Sidious demands that you meet him at his shuttle immediately. He told us to...
Anakin force crushed both clones and cracked their necks. Both clones dropped to the ground. to Anakin, these pathetic clones were just wasting his time. He needed to go after his wife. Eventually, he made his way to Palpatine's shuttle, and as he did, Palpatine started cackling.
Good, Lord Vader. Very good. You have done well, my young apprentice. Master Kenobi was no match for you. I am impressed by your victory.
Thank you, my master, but I need...
Are you in a hurry, Lord Vader?
Yes, Padme is on that ship. She's still alive, and I need to get her.
And how do you plan to do that?
Give me your ship. I need to leave now.
You may have defeated Kenobi, my young apprentice, but know your place. This empire is mine, and regardless of your victory, you will always be my apprentice. Put your personal feelings aside, Lord Vader. Your personal vendettas are insignificant to the needs of our galactic empire. Now, let us leave this planet. We start our work on Coruscant immediately.
No.
Excuse me?
I said no. My wife is on that ship, and I intend to go after her. Join me or not, I am going after her.
As he said this, the clones surrounding Anakin then raised their blasters.
Troopers, set blasters at stun.
The clones did just that. Then out of nowhere, Anakin leaped towards Sidious and rushed in to attack him, but then, with one strike of lightning, Sidious knocked Anakin right to the ground.
Troopers, stun him and bring him aboard immediately.
As time passed, Anakin woke up strapped to a table, and as he was opening his eyes, he heard the sound of a lightsaber humming. However, this humming noise sounded as if it was right next to him. When he finally opened his eyes, he saw Sidious standing over him with his red lightsaber pointed right at his face. Anakin was stunned. This entire time, he always believed he was stronger than his master, and his original plan was to overthrow him as soon as he had the chance to. However, now he started to have doubts in his abilities. Why though? He didn't understand. His new powers should have made him more powerful than his master, so why did he barely stand a chance when he went in to attack him? Although part of him still believed he was stronger than him, in a way, he was terrified of his master. As he and Sidious locked eyes on one another, Sidious said,
This is the weapon of a Sith, Lord Vader. This same blade was used to kill so many of your old masters from your pathetic Jedi Order. I understand this is a troubling time for you. However, if you try to attack me again, I will ensure that you will suffer the same fate as the other Jedi that met this blade. Is that understood, my apprentice?
Yes, my master.
Good.
Sidious retracted his lightsaber.
Where is Padme? Is she safe? Is she alright?
It seems in your anger, you killed her.
What? No! I couldn't have. She was alive. I felt it.
Anakin was filled with rage. This couldn't be. He knew she was still alive when he ran after her ship. He sensed it. Using all his strength from the Force, he then tried to break from the restraints of the table, but then...
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Lord Vader. Accept it. She is dead.
But you told me I could save her.
I did. But it seems in your age, you chose a different path. Her funeral was earlier today on Naboo. It is finished. Not even the power of the dark side can bring her back now.
Anakin couldn't believe the words he was hearing. No, this couldn't be, he thought to himself. He loved her,
However, her death has brought you a gift, my apprentice.
What gift?
Pain, anger, hatred. These emotions will bring you closer to the dark side, Lord Vader. And you will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Anakin couldn't care less about that right now. All he wanted was his wife and their child, but now they were both gone. All because of this evil, twisted man standing right in front of him. If only Sidious hadn't stopped him from taking his shuttle, he could have caught up to her ship and gotten her to safety. Anakin refused to believe that she died because of him. He knew that she was still alive on that ship, and regardless of what his master was telling him, he would learn the truth, with or without his help. However, before he knew it, Sidious then used the Force to lift open his restraints.
Now, Lord Vader, rise. We have work to do.
1 year had passed after the events of Mustafar, and the Empire was only rising in power each and every day. Over this past year, Anakin's skills in the dark side had only become stronger, and he was becoming the apprentice that Sidious always dreamed of. However, he looked a bit different now. Instead of his dark brown Jedi robes, Anakin now wore black robes and had a new crimson red lightsaber as well. This color was more fitting for his journey as a Sith, but regardless of all this, he never forgot what happened that night back on Mustafar. Whenever he wasn't hunting Jedi or obeying Sidious's orders, he spent a lot of his time planning and preparing to one day overthrow his master. In his mind, he knew he was now more powerful than Sidious, way more than he was a year ago. But there was one problem. He knew his master was smart. He couldn't let what happened a year ago happen again, because if it did for some reason, he wouldn't live to regret it. So, over these past months, Anakin began looking for an ally that would help him overtake Sidious together. However, he couldn't just recruit anybody. He needed somebody that had a common goal and had just as much hatred for his master as he did. Luckily for him, he knew just the person. The leader of the newly established Crimson Dawn Syndicate, Darth Maul. From what his master told him, Maul always had a hunger for revenge, and Anakin was aware that just like Count Dooku, he was tossed aside like he was nothing. So, over these months, Anakin hired many different bounty hunters that were responsible to hunt down and locate this Maul person. However, he didn't want Maul captured. All he needed was a location so that he could go and seek him himself. Luckily for Anakin, that ended up just happening, and the search for Darth Maul would finally come to an end. As Anakin sat in his castle on Mustafar, one of his bounty hunters contacted him. Darth Maul was found.
Yes?
The job is done. You can find your target on the planet of Dathomir. I'll send the coordinates to you now.
Well done, bounty hunter. You've done what the others failed to do. I'll be sending your payment.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Anakin hung up, and with that, he then set course for the planet of Dathomir. As Anakin arrived, he then approached a cave where a shadowy figure was meditating.
You. Tell me, have you and your master's empire crumbled already?
I'm here to offer you an opportunity. You and I have a common goal.
And how could you and I possibly have a common goal? You are second in command to this empire, are you not?
Your old master, Sidious. I know you want him dead. I know that's why you lurk here in the shadows. You want to thrive in this chaos right now, so one day you can rule this galaxy yourself. That's why you prey on these weak individuals and rule over them through your crime syndicate.
You couldn't possibly know anything about me or what I've gone through to get here.
Oh, but I do. I know Sidious killed your brother and your mother. I know you remember that feeling. The anger you had towards him after witnessing your brother die in your arms. How could you possibly just sit there and allow that man to rule while you do nothing about it? You think your little syndicate has a chance against the numbers the Empire has? They're here to stay, unless you and I do something about it.
Maul clenched his fist.
You know nothing, boy. How could you possibly know about my mother and my brother?
He told me everything. He told me how he murdered your brother in cold blood, and you couldn't even do anything about it. You couldn't even avenge him because you were simply too weak.
Enough!
We'll take him down together and rule this galaxy. You'll have all the power you crave, and nothing will stop us.
And what could you possibly have to gain out of this?
My wife. He promised me he would save her from death. However, he's the reason why she's dead. If it weren't for him, I'd be with her and our child right now. He took that from me. When it was time to save her life, he held me back. I want to know the truth about what happened to her. I need the resources to make that happen. But most of all, I want him dead. I want him to go through the same pain my wife had to go through.
You want revenge?
I do.
You've changed since Tatooine, my boy. All those years, and finally, all grown up.
I don't have all day. Are you with me or not?
I will take you up on your offer, Skywalker. Was it?
Don't say that name again.
Very well, Darth Vader. I will join you, and we shall have our revenge.
With that, the two then set off for the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, where they would confront Sidious in his office. However, to remain undetected, they flew on Anakin's personal shuttle. That way, nobody would raise any eyebrows. On top of that, Anakin placed Maul in handcuffs. That way, it would look like he was holding him as a prisoner. Eventually, the two made their way up to the top of the palace as they entered the office. As they walked in, Sidious sat in his chair and began to laugh.
Ah, Lord Vader, I see you have brought me a prisoner. But yet, I sense a disturbance in the Force. Are you trying to betray me, my apprentice?
This ends now. I know I didn't kill Padme that night on Mustafar, and nothing is going to make me think otherwise. So I'll give you a chance. Tell me what actually happened, or your old apprentice and I will make quick work of you.
Don't you mean my failed apprentice? My boy, if you are going to recruit anybody to your cause, perhaps you go for somebody who at least has legs. Don't you remember what I told you a year ago, Lord Vader? I told you that if you ever try to attack me again, I will ensure that you will suffer the same fate as your Jedi friends.
Anakin then released Maul from his cuffs. The two ignited their red lightsabers.
So be it.
Sidious ignited his crimson red saber, and as he did, he then leaped towards the two of them. It was now a duel between Anakin and Maul, up against Darth Sidious himself. As the three clashed lightsabers, Sidious had a counter to any move the two of them performed. So, in a highly calculated move, Sidious then knocked Maul to the ground so he could have a 1v1 isolation against Anakin. Anakin and Sidious went back and forth, but this time, Anakin was holding his own. He knew how much more powerful he became since their last encounter a year ago, and this time, he refused to lose. He had anger, he had rage, and most of all, he had hatred for his master. He blamed him for everything, and he was determined to get his revenge, no matter the cost. As the two kept clashing lightsabers, Anakin became more and more powerful with every strike when finally he got the upper hand. Out of nowhere, he kicked Sidious's lightsaber out of his hands and brought him to the ground. As Maul was still struggling to pick himself back up, Anakin had already won the fight all by himself. It was over. As Sidious laid there, he started laughing.
Good. Good, Lord Vader. Good. You have done well.
Enough! Now tell me what happened that night.
I am impressed that you were able to conclude that you didn't kill her. I thought a fool like you would never figure it out.
I know I didn't, so I'll ask you one more time. What happened?
Lord Vader, do you know why I told you that you killed her? To make you stronger in the dark side. To allow you to reach power beyond what you could imagine. But you failed. Instead of growing stronger, you spent the past year clinging on to your dead wife. Do you really believe that I did not sense that you were hiring pathetic bounty hunters just to overthrow me? Do it! Strike me down, Lord Vader. Take this empire for yourself, but just know there's no bringing back your wife. She's dead!
Anakin had enough. Drawing closer to Sidious, he then held his saber right at his throat.
What happened to her?
After you failed to bring her to safety, your two droids, along with a familiar Jedi Master, ensured that she was taken care of. It was there, on the planet of Polis Massa, where she died, just moments after you last saw her. How does that make you feel, Lord Vader? That you weren't even with her in her final moments.
What Jedi?
A Jedi that you know far too well. Master.
Out of nowhere, Maul stabbed Sidious right through his chest. It was done. Darth Sidious was dead.
No!
Anakin couldn't believe his eyes. He knew the plan was to kill Sidious, but now, just when he was getting the answers he searched so long for, it was ripped away from him.
What have you done?
Enough time has been wasted. Now put your feelings aside. We have work to do, apprentice.
Apprentice?
Yes. You heard me.
So after all of this, you think I'm going to be following your orders? I was the one who recruited you. Without me, you'd be running after scraps in your syndicate.
Oh, how unfortunate. I suppose we shall put it to a test then, shall we?
Anakin didn't hesitate as he then ignited his red saber. So did Maul, and without wasting time, he leapt towards Anakin. The two then clashed back and forth in Palpatine's office, with each of them going at one another. Anakin had enough. He had no idea which Jedi was with Padme in her final moments, but he was gonna get his answer, no matter what. He refused to let Maul take this from him, so with every strike of his blade, he became more and more enraged. Then before he knew it, he overwhelmed Maul just like he did with Sidious, and before he knew it, he knocked him right to the ground. However, Anakin refused to waste any more time.
Have mercy. Please. It is done.
You fought well, apprentice.
With one swift strike of his saber, Anakin stabbed Maul right through his chest. It was over. Darth Maul was dead. With both Sidious and Maul defeated, it was now Anakin all by himself. The galaxy now belonged to him. However, that didn't matter to him right now. He needed to learn the truth. What Jedi was Sidious speaking about? He needed answers. So without hesitation, he then ordered Sidious's guards to prepare his ship and then set course for the planet of Polis Massa. Eventually, Anakin arrived on the planet, but once he did, he wasted no time. As he landed, he quickly stormed the abandoned medical facility, hoping to find his answers. Although the facility was abandoned and run down, he was able to access the ship logs that were there, including the date of when Padme's ship arrived. As he looked at the data, he found everything, including security footage of when she was brought there that night. However, as he pulled up the footage, Anakin couldn't believe his eyes. It was there where he witnessed Padme's final moments before she died, but even more than that, something else. Something he couldn't believe. As he rewinded the footage, he saw Padme give birth to twins that she named Luke and Leia. Anakin felt numb. These were the names that her and Anakin planned for so long together, and this entire time they were alive? They survived? How was he not able to sense them? Did Sidious keep them a secret from him too? Anakin clenched his fists, his rage swelled up, but then it only got worse. As he kept watching the footage, he finally saw the Jedi Master that Padme was with, Yoda. Yoda was with her in her final moments. Anakin remembered Sidious's last words.
How does that make you feel, Lord Vader? That you weren't even with her in her final moments.
Anakin had enough. His eyes were burning yellow and red, and before he knew it, he then used the Force to crush the security footage as well as the walls around him. Anakin had one thing and one thing on his mind only: his two children. Without hesitation, he then pulled out his holoprojector.
Yes, my lord.
Grand Inquisitor, I'm here to inform you that the Emperor is now dead. I am your Emperor now, and you will follow my one and only order. I want you and your team of Inquisitors to hunt down and locate the former Grand Master of the Jedi, Yoda. Use any resource necessary to get the job done, but you will not rest until he is found. It's rumored that he's hiding along with 2 children. If you wish to kill him, you may do as you please, but the children are to remain unharmed. Is that understood, Grand Inquisitor?
It will be done, Lord Vader.